Join the enforcers. They travel the highways.
I find traffic in particular very exciting.
They meet different cultures.
You speak French?
They work through the night,
I'm not doing nothing.
putting life at risk for a starting salary of around £350 a week.
Must be one of the highest paid road sweepers in the country, I should think.
It's a tough job, but they can still afford to laugh.
Hey, a lady pilot. My son would be impressed.
What's the latest, is it?
The Enforcer starts Tuesday at 8:30 on 5.
Yeah.
You're watching 5. Here's Charlie.
It's just after 5:10. I'm Charlie State. Detectives hunting Jill Dando's killer have issued an e-fit of the man they want to question. The picture's been compiled from descriptions of several key witnesses who say a well-dressed man was seen fleeing the murder scene. Police aren't linking the murder with the Kosovo crisis.
There is no intelligence or evidence or facts which would say that Miss Dando has been murdered by anybody connected with the Serbian crisis or the Kosovan crisis.
In the last few minutes, police say they've released on bail a man they were questioning over the Brixton bomb. He was arrested after the release of enhanced CCTV footage taken in the area before the blast. Russia's Special Envoy Viktor Chernomyrdin is in Belgrade today to try and find a diplomatic solution to the crisis in Yugoslavia. His peace efforts follow the heaviest series of raids so far in NATO's 5-week-old campaign.
Yesterday was the most intense day thus far in our air operations over Yugoslavia, benefiting from more than double the number of aircraft that we had 1 month ago, benefiting also from a spell of good weather, which we understand is going to continue over the next few days. We were able to launch 600 sorties.
The makers of the contraceptive Norplant say they're bowing to public pressure and withdrawing it from the UK. Hundreds of women claim the implants made them ill and legal actions are ongoing. Norplant insists it is safe. The former Westminster Council leader Dame Shirley Porter has won the latest round of a legal battle in the Homes for Votes scandal. The Tesco heiress had been ordered to pay millions of pounds after the district auditor accused her authority of gerrymandering. That's now been quashed, but the auditor can now appeal. The 80s pop star Gary Kemp has won a court battle to keep the millions that he made from the group Spandau Ballet. He'd been sued for royalties by 3 other members of the band, wanting cash for the songs he'd written, but which the band had recorded together.
I'm just really glad that what the judge, Justice Park, did today is hopefully going to secure songwriters' future a little bit more.
Ex-footballer Vinnie Jones has made it to Hollywood.
That includes blasphemy as well. Now tell me, John, how can you be concentrating on improving this lovely tan, and it is a lovely tan, by the way, when you've got more pressing priorities at hand?
Film bosses were so impressed with his debut in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels that they've signed him up to appear in a £65 million gangland thriller opposite Nicolas Cage. And we'll have a full report on the hard man of soccer's rise from the floodlights to the limelight in our main news at 6 o'clock tonight. A quick look at this evening's weather now. Mainly clear with patchy showers in the north, dry and clear overnight in the south. Temperatures between 1 and around 8 degrees. That's it for now. Join me for a full roundup of the day's news in 5 News at 6 o'clock. See you then.
He's as strong as Schwarzenegger.
Whenever you try to hide, I will track you down, yeah.
Nice stomach. Do you ever work out?
As nimble as Uriah.
See? Nothing's broken.
As perceptive as Poirot.
Real diamonds don't float.
As charming as Clooney.
What'd you get, man? Some Chinese? Italian.
There's no one quite like Samo. Watch him in Martial Law, Sunday at 8 on 5.
Your weekend starts with a new champion defending her title on 100% in a wee while after a postcard from Russell. Next.
This is how Martha Lyles found the path to inner peace and true enlightenment. The first step was to call 0500 500 500 and switch to cable and wireless. She was given this promise, either savings on her phone bill or double the difference back. Immediately, she began to feel a weight off her mind. The second step was to share her feelings with her close friends by using her 100 free minutes of local evening calls. Step 3, she rebuilt her relationship with her mother by spending hours on the phone to her every Saturday, thanks to Cable & Wireless's 50p maximum call charge offer. The final step was to ditch her boyfriend and take up yoga. If you want inner peace, yoga's good. If you don't want to have that nagging feeling you could be spending too much money on your phone bill, call Cable & Wireless, the company that promises you savings or double the difference back. Free call 0500 500 500 now.
5, 6, push up, push up. Hi there, your choice at 7 and push. BBC One, Weekend Watchdog, now change. Here we go, press. ITV, play your cards right. Bruce Forsyth. Channel 5, in the net, about football, I bet.
Too right, girl. It's about football, proper sport. Steve Scott, John O'Pearce and Kenny Dalglish, the three wise men of footy, the beautiful game.
Tonight at 7, your choice. Now breathe.
Now on 5, Russell's River Wye at Ross really rocks, did it?
Overlooking a large loop in the River Wye and built on a sandstone cliff is the doomsday town of Ross-on-Wye. Our postcard today is the River Wye at Ross in Herefordshire. Three fishes in the middle of Ross, an inland town, although it's on the River Wye.
That's right. Well, that's because the salmon is renowned for its fishing of salmon.
They're salmon?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought they were mackerel.
No.
I really did.
No, these salmon have been specially designed by Walenty Patel, who's of Polish origin, who lives near Ross, and he's a sculptor who works in ironwork, and he's got a national reputation. And this is all part of the new Ross Enhancement Scheme, which was opened this year, which is to make the whole of Ross pedestrianised and more user-friendly for people to come in and get away from the traffic. So we have 3 of these sculptures. We have the leaping salmon, as these are called, and then we have the swans, the flying swans, and a group of ducks down by the riverside.
Sounds like Hilda Ogden to me, the ducks.
Which are all part of the associations of the river and Ross and its situation, etc.
My knowledgeable guide is Heather Hurley, author of many local books. Morning.
Morning.
And you've got some little visitors.
That's right.
To welcome us down to the Wye.
Those ones with the dark feathers are the cygnets, this year's cygnets.
The ugly ducklings turn to swans.
And there's a whole flock of
and you've got a white duck.
Yeah, I don't know how he got here. Yeah.
There's 2 of those there.
Oh yes, there is.
Yeah.
And of course this area here is really very important to Ross. Okay. Really from the 18th century, there was the vicar here he was the rector of Ross actually, the Reverend John Egerton, and he was a fairly wealthy and influential man, and he had people come to visit him, and to entertain them, he took them on boat trips down the Wye. And this really was the start of what they became known as the Wye Tour. It became very, very fashionable for sort of poets and artists and people like that from about 1790s onwards. And they'd keep boats. This was the boating area here, and the boats would be here. There'd be a little pleasure boats with awnings around them, and the boatmen would supply them with various hampers of food and bottles of wine, and then they'd slowly take their way down and go down the river past all the nice places, Goodrich, Simonjat, and where you were yesterday, Tintern, and sometimes they'd stay overnight if they were going that far. And it became the thing to do, and then they'd write about it and paint pictures, and and then it became sort of commercialised. Everybody got in onto it. So of course all the hotels in the town and the inns suddenly were offering accommodation for the Wye Tour. More boats were available for hire. And then of course when the railway came in 1855, the railway also tapped into this so that people could come here by rail, go down the Wye by boat and come back by train. But apart from that, down here we had the Wye Tour, which was of great interest. But also there were a lot of other activities here. There was boat building, believe it or not.
We can see a little boat down here, actually, can't we?
There's not much left of the boats now. And also we have, where we're going to walk now is along the rope walk, which was where they made ropes. There was also flax making down here and basket making from the withies. See all the willows along the bank? And there was a big
That's
withy.
where withy comes from.
That's right,
Willow.
yes, willows. And over the river there was a big withy patch where they grew these willows, especially for basket making. And they'd be cut and brought here, and you'd have women sitting here making the baskets.
Right.
So there were a lot of other sort of sheds and barns and things here at that time. And it was a very busy part. And also, of course, we had the river trade before the railway. As I say, the railway came here in 1855. Before that, we had the navigation of the Wye. So you had barges, which were originally drawn by men, who were not particularly pleasant by all accounts. And it'd be a hard job pulling upstream, not so bad coming downstream, but going upstream would be very hard work. And then from 1809, they passed another Act of Parliament which enabled them to open a horse towing path, so that then they were drawn by horses, so it made it a bit easier. And so you'd have barges pulling up as well.
So the lifeblood
loading.
of Ross then,
Yeah, so it's very much centred around Ross, and of course that's how Ross has developed between the river and the church site and the Bishop's Palace up on the top there.
So Ross, if I remember, is a Celtic word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or, it means a headland.
Yeah,
normally,
it means
doesn't it?
promontory.
Apart from me, the River Wye has had many famous visitors here at Ross, including Lord Nelson, who came here in 1802 and walked through the grounds of Merton House down to the Wye. That's Merton House there. Oh, there's your swans.
Yeah, no,
or are they ducks?
No, these are the... well, that's right. The ducks and swans look very similar, actually.
I'm getting very confused by this. I have to be honest, I can't see how that enhances Ross on Wye. To be very, very honest with you, and I prefer to be honest with you, Heather.
Well, it has been, it's not been a terribly popular move by the townspeople because they think that the money that was spent on this could be spent on some other...
I've got to agree with them there, and I don't live here, but as a visitor, I've got to agree that those swans do nothing for me.
Yeah, well, where we're walking along the river here is part of the Wye Valley Walk, which is a long-distance route leading from Chepstow up to Rhayader in mid-Wales. It's about 150 miles, and of course it goes through the most wonderful countryside. We've walked every step of it because we wrote the guide to the Wye Valley Walk.
Did you, Heather? 150 miles with your pen in hand?
Yes, and we walked another 25 miles up to the source on Plinlimmon, and we made our own route right the way up to 2,000 feet up, where it just bubbles out of the mountainside.
So you've seen the Severn from being a baby?
Yes.
To being an adult into the Bristol Channel?
Yes, that's right. So it's a wonderful walk, and it's very clearly marked with leaping salmon again.
We don't mind leaping salmon
it's
because
the
they're
logo.
part of that. So there's the Ruddle Brook.
Yeah, this is the Ruddle Brook. Now this is really quite important on the sort of industrial side of Ross, and it's past industries, I should say, really, because along this brook, which rises quite a few miles outside the town, along the brook, it actually powered in the past, I think it was about 11 water mills, which were called...
That little
this
brook
little
down
brook
there?
here, yeah.
Gosh.
And it was here that where you had your the mills. We had the corn mills, we had a town mill, which was the 2 mills, and we had the 1 mill site, which was just at the end here of the rope walk. And apart from that, of course, we had the tan yards were situated down here because they needed water as well. And then in the sort of a bit later on in the 19th century, we had the big brewery here called the Alton Court Brewery. And there were various forges as well, which were all down this end of the town because of the water supply.
Now that's a charming house.
Yeah, that's called the Thrush's Nest.
Is it?
Yes. And you can see it's got one of our blue plaques.
Oh, yes,
Lots of
at
the
the
buildings
end.
have got blue plaques, which goes with the heritage trail. And these signify that they are buildings or sites of historical interest. And this one is where Burroughs lived. He was started off life as a porter at one of the little railway halts. And he ended up, worked his way up. He was into sort of politics and that. And he ended up as being, I think it was the last governor of India.
Did he? That man lived there?
Yeah, and that's where he lived.
And he
yes.
started off as a porter at the station?
Yes, but he ended up as being quite a high administrative post in India.
Gosh, and he was in there. Is that Cotswold stone there? Looks like it, doesn't it?
It doesn't look like the local sandstone.
No, it looks like they brought that in. And this is where the mill would have been. And there's the
War
Y.
Memorial. And here we are overlooking this wonderful horseshoe bend.
Well, it's the first time we can actually see how the Y curves round, as you say, into a horseshoe.
That's right. Now, this is a toposcope here, which tells you all the places that you can see. And here, you know, this wonderful horseshoe bend, which before the modern road was built, of course, was an absolutely wonderful sight.
Russell wrote a book called The Real Counties of Britain, and I haven't seen it in any bad bookshops. There's also more travel information up on 5text, page 456.
Riding along in my automobile.
My baby beside me at the wheel. Oh, hello. Oh, fancy Liz Hurley on a Harley. I do. Or Anthea Handbrake turning a Ferrari. Oh. Or Popster Paul Young in a Porsche or a Panda.
No, can't be him. Not in that.
Match the stars with their cars. Take a pit stop and find out.
Miss Lane, she said, it's quite rapid, isn't it?
Stars and Cars, Thursdays at 8 o'clock on Channel 5.